Welcome. Bleep Bloop Bloom here with a crash course in the Mars Dyson Sphere. So, I've noticed that, I mentioned the Mars Dyson Sphere in the Giga-Science China run. And, I'm still recording videos, haven't gotten posted yet. I've noticed myself as we've gone towards that 30K Ledger Science target, mentioning that run, how things were different, and so on and so forth here and there. And it occurs to me, how many people are going to go take a look at that first playthrough, especially given that the audio in the first half dozen or so recordings are, to be generous, let's just say subpar. And it occurred to me that, I don't know, I kind of want to do a little crash course, a little tutorial on the Mars Dyson Sphere, because if you are not going Giga China, if you're not going Giga-Science China, and you're going to get your science from space, it really is, right now, as of 1.0, January 2026, before any, God knows what nerfs are going to happen in the future, it really is the best way of accumulating a lot of space science. And so I think it makes sense for noobs and not so noobs to know what it is, to think about doing it in your games, because frankly, I'll tell you, in my games, if I'm not Giga-Science Chinaing, and that is kind of a very specialized sort of run for me, if I'm not doing that, I'm making a Mars Dyson Sphere in every single other run. Now, I tried to go kind of like fastest pace possible, so 2022 start, went US, moved as fast as I could into China, then military unification of the EU, which is, I loaded up the Mars Dyson game. This is kind of in the middle of doing that. And just pumped MC in all these places. So like US took it, did a little bit of boost, did not do welfare, or hardly any welfare at all, focused on mission control, which is why there's 33 mission control here. Moved to China as soon as I could. Didn't pump knowledge. I don't think I've put a single pip in knowledge in any single country at any time in the Mars Dyson playthrough. There just wasn't any need. It was just not a good idea. And so pumped MC in China, which is why there's 56 MC in China. And then, of course, took the EU. It's up to 66 because the EU is a great place for China, and militarily taking it over. And so, in a game where you're going for space science, you're using the Earth for boost and MC, essentially. You're not investing in knowledge, you're only investing in welfare as much as you need to pretty much not have inequality go above 4, or in some cases, just tough it out when it does go above 4. And you're just using it as kind of an MC farm, a boost farm and an MC farm. Actually, you're going to need both. You'll need both of those. And so I'm going to do this in any game. Tropic of Cancer game, Africa start game. It's not going to be as fast. Not going to hit these points by 2027. But if I'm starting in Africa, thinking I'm just going to do a caliphate game where I'm going to make, stay in only the countries that the House of Islam would have a claim on, and have to capture every single one of them before taking anything else. And I've done those games before. They're fun. I'm going to make a Mars Dyson Sphere. East Asia start, where I'm not trying to make Giga China, and I'm doing like a Tropic of Cancer run where I'm trying to stay basically at the equator and below. No China, no US, no EU, no Russia, no India. I'm going to make a Mars Dyson Sphere. They'll be later, but I'm going to make them. So what is the Mars Dyson Sphere? Why is it so sweet? All right, well, that's the whole point of this crash course. Not going to be very long, but I think it's important to know. So as of a relatively recent change in early release, the devs created solar mirrors. And what solar mirrors do, let's just take a quick look. What solar mirrors do is they allow you, solar mirror, there we go. Solar mirrors allow you to basically pump up the outputs of all of your solar arrays on any given body. And you can build solar mirrors anywhere. You can build them in the Kuiper Belt. They'll cost millions of base metals or something. It's something incredibly obnoxious like that, but you could build them there. Mars, they're not that. They're expensive. They're not that expensive. Not that expensive at all, which is why Mars, with its 25 sites, is the perfect place. So essentially, because solar mirrors increase the output of solar modules, if you build enough solar mirrors, and there's a peak, I think it's I think is the cat mentioned here. I'm not sure if it's mentioned. Oh yeah, solar panels may produce a maximum of 8x their baseline maximum power value, and I think 8x is something like 80 or 100 or something like that. And yeah, so it's, you know, it's a high peak. Let's just say it's a high peak. And even this early on in the game, let's just take a quick look. Let's go to Mars. So I loaded up a Mars Dyson game where I'm pretty much in the middle of, beginning to in the middle of Mars Dysoning, right? Of creating a Mars Dyson Sphere. You can see that with just, not even arrays, just the mirrors, the tier 1, these solar arrays are making 137 power. A fission array would make 85. Heavy fission would make 128, and these are making 137 each. And this is low. Once you get the mirror arrays going, you can have one array making 700 power, which is enough to power every single other module, even if that module is an op center, and a campus, and another campus, and a nano, and a farm, and a skunk, and another campus, and another campus, right? So the typical layout is basically 5 campuses, 2 farms, a nano, an op center, and 2 arrays, and this eventually could just be 1 array. So you can see how, if you have the resources, you can, with 25 Mars sites on 20 of the sites, 5 campuses each, that's 100 campuses. That's 6,000 sweet science. You upgrade those to 100 universities, that's 20,000 sweet science. And on top of that, you could build more than that. You've got universities in Earth orbit. That's how you get to 30K ledger science. And of course, by ledger, for those of you, I think you guys know this, but by ledger science, we mean no diversity bonuses. So what you have here, we got to 30K in the Mars Dyson run in, I think it was less than 8 years, right? It's crazy. And so that's why Mars Dyson is so strong, is because you can put relatively cheap power modules on Mars if you build enough orbitals with these mirrors on them. And it allows you to just really spam campuses where you couldn't do that. You could do that on Mercury, I suppose, in orbit, but all of them would cost a whole lot more because Mercury has a radioactive orbit. It's incredibly expensive to upgrade those to universities. You could do it around Earth. That's what I would have done in the past before solar mirrors. But Earth, you can't pack as many on an orbital because of power considerations. Well, you don't have a whole lot of power considerations on Mars if one array can make 300 or 400 or 700 power. All right. So you can see the beauty. You can see why it's probably going to be nerfed by the time you listen to this. No, you can see why it's so good. And I in fact, I do know, because I saw in one of his interviews, the lead dev, J-Lump, he expressed maybe a little bit of regret about solar mirrors. Like, I would not be surprised if they're tweaked in the future. I don't think the tweak is going to be big enough to obviate this strategy. But, I think he might increase some costs or make the max power a little bit less. Like, I see it. I think something like that might happen. But I think it's still going to be the dominant strategy for space science. So how do you go about making a Mars Dyson Sphere? The key trap, in my opinion, is trying to put everything in place too early. If you're going to go for a Mars Dyson Sphere, you want to play early game very similarly to how we're doing it in the Giga-Science China run, or how you would in any run, even if you weren't going to do a Dyson Sphere. What does that mean? That means get to 100 MC as fast as possible. It means plant 6 to 10 places on Mars after you do your 1 or 2 sites on Luna. It means take over low Earth orbit as soon as you can, so that you can get all your interface bonuses and, you know, block out the other, you know, factions. And again, if you're newer, if you want to have an ally or two, leave them one Leo spot each, just so they don't get mad at you, because they will get mad if you block them out of Leo. They get mad. You know, give humanity first. Throw them a bone. Give them one station if you feel like it. I don't do that, but you could do that. So let me just go to Earth, by the way. Whoops, there we go. So as you can see here in this run, for quite a while, I've had all of Leo and a space shipyard and so on and so forth. In any case, so that's what you want to do early game. You want to plant, you need typical moon, plant only 6 to 10 on Mars. Don't go crazy. Use fission power early on. You don't need to get mirrors going on immediately. It's fine. Plant lots of asteroids. Use ships the way we're going to be doing it in Giga-Science China. Use boosts, which I'm thinking might not be optimal, but it's very close. That's what I've been doing the last 2 years and had great success. Either way, plant lots of asteroids. And because you need those for your resources, right? So you want to plant lots of asteroids, mining sites, research those Mission X techs even before you plan on going to X. Research mission to Jupiter before you plan on going to Jupiter. Same thing with Saturn. Same thing with Kuiper, of course. Once you get Kuiper, you should go to Kuiper because it's awesome. And only then, after you're generating crazy resources from, let's see, in this case, let's just go to here, prospecting, resistance. I don't know if we can do. Let's see. So let's just ignore Mars. So I've got at least 10 active mining sites going on in Mars. I've got, 20 here? 25? So I've got about 35 mining sites less than 5 years into the game. And that's because I need resources. This is a resource-heavy build. You are building 25 op centers. Probably 40 to 50 nanos just on Mars. You're building 100 campuses just on Mars. And then, of course, you have all your solar mirrors and so on. It is a resource-heavy strategy, and it is silly to try to take 15, 20, 25 Mars sites before you actually can build your campuses. So if you're going to go with this sort of strategy, and I do recommend it, I think it's the best way of generating space science. Don't rush it. Play normally your first 2, 3, 4 years. Plant your asteroids. Take over Leo. Get your 6th counselor, right, with quantum encryption. Build some campuses around Earth, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. So when I got campuses, I would say about 2/3 of the sites, roughly. Yeah, that one's got a campus. That one's got a campus. Doesn't have a campus. Does have a campus, about 2/3 of the sites. Hey, it's 60 science each, right? That's pretty sweet. And if you're pumping MC, you'll have the MC to support it. Once you have all that infrastructure in place, then start taking over the Mars sites. Just you'll have nanos up. Just start settling the sites that are abandoned, and if the other factions have moved in. In this particular game, hardly any other sites had been taken over by the other factions on Mars because, we move so fast. But you might not move so fast. You might have a slower start. You might be a newer player. If they've settled Mars, you just build Marines, right? It's just, you don't need a whole lot of Marines. They don't really defend themselves. So build 2 or 3 Marine escorts. It's not, this is... I'm doing it with one of these, taking these sites, build 2 or 3 of them. You don't even need the advanced Marines. You can just take the basic ones. You'll swoop in, you'll take their Mars sites, you'll immediately upgrade to Tier 2. You'll plant an Ops immediately. You'll plant a Nano immediately. You'll plant a Farm immediately. You won't plant a mining site unless it turns out to be a really good site. And as those get going, once you have the resources to start building campuses, then you'll build campuses on almost every one of those sites, maybe some nanos on some of the sites because it's very expensive to upkeep and you want to make sure that you can pay for things. And again, if you're generating a lot of resources, then you can afford to upkeep your nanos, right? All right, so I think I've covered the basics here. I don't want to be too repetitive. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel to post in the comments. But I do think that unless some huge nerfs come, and I don't foresee those, I think they're going to be tweaks because it's strong. I can imagine the solar mirrors getting an increased cost. Maybe they'll be gated a little bit later on in the tech tree, possibly. I mean, that could happen. I'm not sure. I don't think anything major will happen, but until something major does happen, if you want space science, strongly consider doing a Mars Dyson, but don't do it too early, right? Do all the things that you would anyway. Plant lots and lots and lots and lots of asteroid sites. Plant 2-3 places on Mercury if you can get there. Take over Leo. And once you've got all the pieces in place, you got your 6th counselor and so on and so forth, and the resources start rolling in, then you can go super mega doom campus. And hey, nothing wrong with 30K space science in 8 years, let me tell you. There's a micro, takes a lot of resources, but it's pretty sweet when it happens. All right. So I will leave it there, and thank you for joining me for this crash course, and I'll see you next time.